Yesterday on GematriaEffectNews, we talked about a few of Joe Biden's cabinet appointments. One I did not get to was Janet Yellen, who's going to replace Steve Mnuchin, however you say his last name. Again, he went to Yale and is a member of Skull and Bones. She went to Yale, and I'm not sure if she was a member of Skull and Bones, but it's very likely. Again, Skull and Bones, always operating within the federal government. We've had multiple presidents there in recent years. And what I want to show with this video is, again, that it doesn't matter, what party gets in, what candidate. It is the same Jesuit power structure that's there. Again, just if you don't know, Skull and Bones, the powerful secret society out of Yale. In recent years, you had the two Bush presidents, father and son. They were both members of Yale Skull and Bones. Bill Clinton went there. He very possibly was a member of Skull and Bones. Again, the Skull and Bones fingerprints are always around the presidency, whether the person went to Yale or not. Very powerful secret society in Connecticut. And they were founded by a man who studied secret societies in Bavaria, like the home of the Bavarian Illuminati, which was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. And as we've been showing for months, everything is a Jesuit ritual on both sides. Democrats, Republicans, the Jesuit motto, divide and conquer. They got their two political parties constantly dividing and conquering the people and doing effectively nothing for the people. And just notice, Democrat, Republican, they always put in these same people that went to these same schools. It's just such controlled political theater. But then when you learn gematria, you can really prove your points. I'm just going to ignore that Janet Yellen's 74 years old. Again, that's the number I've taught about nonstop since 2017, my brand new book, Number Games. The book begins by teaching about the number 74. Again, they just called the election for Joe Biden on November 7th, while he was at 74 million votes, 74 days from Inauguration Day, against his 74-year-old opponent, Donald Trump, and after the headline about how Wall Street spent more on Biden, 74 million. But anyway, here's this 74-year-old woman from her 74th birthday on August 13th. And you got to love that she's born in 46 too, right? Joe Biden just become number 46 and the huge 46 ritual, which was the number that allowed us to call it for Biden way before the election happened. But again, from her birthday to this appointment, 103, her 103rd day of her age. Jesuits is 103. Again, the Jesuits have been in D.C. longer than anybody. They've been there longer than the federal government. Washington, D.C. used to be called Rome on the Potomac, owned by Francis Pope. The Jesuits serve Rome and the Pope. But her name in Gematria, Janet Yellen, it has the 42 in it like Jesuit. Notice forwards and backwards is 42 and 57 like Georgetown's 57 and 42 in reverse. Georgetown, the nation's first Jesuit university in Washington, D.C. The man who's in charge of the Federal Reserve right now is Jesuit educated at Georgetown, or as are a lot of people in the federal government. His birthday is 4/2. So Janet Yellen will be working with Jesuit educated Jerome Powell, and she went to Yale and is likely connected to Skull and Bones, which is directly related to the Jesuits because it is an offshoot of the Bavarian Illuminati that was created by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. And look at this. If you use the Francis Bacon cipher, which takes into account capital letters, which is a very relevant cipher, the name Jerome Powell is 201, like the Jesuit order is 201, like Skull and Bones is 201. And again, Event 201 was the coronavirus pandemic simulation a month before the outbreak began in Wuhan, China. Event 201, a pandemic that shapes the world. New World Order. Again, the Jesuits are openly all about globalization. One world, one government, one currency. These are Jesuit ambitions. And with regards to Skull and Bones and the Bavarian Illuminati, again, the Bavarian Illuminati was founded by Adam Weishaupt, who quickly renamed it Order of Illuminati, which equals 201. Adam Weishaupt was the Jesuit. He would die in history on November 18th, 1830, which is a very interesting date because it's the 322nd day of the year, 322. The number that Skull and Bones identifies by, 322. And it's the day leaving 43 days left in the year, and Yale equals 43. Just like how the last openly member of Skull and Bones that was president was number 43, George W. Bush. His father was the 43rd vice president. His brother was the 43rd governor of Florida. Funny how Tom Brady goes there at age 43 to Florida, which equals 43 in gematria, just like football. And that reminds that American football is credited to Walter Camp, who went to Yale and Skull and Bones. Go figure. But from Adam Weishaupt's, or from the anniversary of the establishment of the Bavarian Illuminati, May 1st, 5-1, to his death on November 18th, that was 201 days later. And again, he established the Bavarian Illuminati, which Skull and Bones is modeled after. And then he dies 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment, and he renamed it Order of Illuminati, which is 201. But then again, dies on the 322nd day of the year, 322, the number of Skull and Bones. John Kerry, George W. Bush, they were both asked about 322 Skull and Bones in 2004 when they were the two candidates running against each other. Two members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale that allows 15 members per year, had the two candidates in 2004 who were both questioned about the number, but both said, sorry, it's a secret. And the secret is that in Gematria, Abrahamic religions is 322. Ancient mystery religions is 322. And that's what all this stuff is. Ancient mystery religions, Kabbalah, Kundalini, Hermeticism, alchemy, all this knowledge that most people have no clue about. It's all scripted into the Bible. It's why Genesis 3:22 is about the tree of life, the physical model of Kabbalah, about knowing good and evil, a phrase that equals 201. Again, all this stuff. It's all encoded. It all has a reason. It's all biblical. It's all hidden information from the public. It's the stuff for secret societies. So anyway, all these 201s, and then just to come back to remind how these jokes work, again, Janet Yellen's going to replace Stephen Mnuchin, who is a known member of Skull and Bones. Again, they both went to Yale, so it's very probable that she is connected to the society as well, but that's who she's going to replace. Trump's guy. Now here comes Biden's gal. And earlier I pointed out that it was her 103rd day of her age. The other way to say it is it was 102 days after her birthday. That's the reflection of 201. Remember, the big Jesuit number outside of 201 is 102. The Jesuits translated the text Art of War, which equals 102, just like World War is 102. You've heard before, all wars are bankers' wars. Look at who really controls the Federal Reserve and the government. They use the you-know-who's kind of as a layer of defense. Yeah, they are a part of it, but it's ultimately this Jesuit network that runs the show. Large and in charge, way more established, militaries behind it. Anyway, Art of War 102, World War 102, the American Civil War began April 12, 1861. The Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year. The Confederates, breaking away from the federal government, Confederate 201, the war that bankrupted the nation, that allowed the Act of 1871 to happen after, which allowed foreign interests to come in and make Washington, D.C. an independent city-state. And who do you think those foreign interests were in 1871? Catholic 71. Again, this is how the Jesuits and the church take over nations. Start wars, instigate problems, divide the people, and then slip in the cracks and take over. Bankrupt a nation, buy it up. This is what they've been doing, spreading their influence. And why would you want to do these things? Well, then you can control a nation's army, and then you can wage wars all across the world, take down all your enemies. I mean, that's what the United States of America has been used for. You know, program people to think waving a flag is something, worshiping a flag is something, signing up for the military, being the New World Order mercenary force, flying over here, killing brown people here, take their resources here. You don't see why they would do this? I mean, it's all in front of your face. I give these presentations and people have to ask these elementary questions. It's like, what about that question can't you answer yourself? It's called world domination. Anyway, this is how they do it. All by their numbers. And with regards to Confederate in 201, don't forget Black Lives Matter is a Jesuit-run operation. George Perry Floyd, 201, televised to the world. Protests all over the world. The Jesuits were created in Paris, France on June 1st, 2020. They had a protest for Adama Traore and George Floyd, who were killed exactly 201 weeks apart. And Adama Traore was killed on the 201st day of 2016 on July 19th. Again, all this stuff is just ritual, doing the same rituals, televising propaganda, dividing people, getting them worked up, take sides. That's all it is. fill up the people's heads with junk for them to divide over, fall for the latest deception, fall for the latest televised or written about propaganda, and get them. But look at the big joke, you guys. George Perry Floyd, 201. What happened after that? All the Confederate statues came down, right? 201. And what happened just days before the George Perry Floyd story? Remember, the story was that he used a counterfeit $20 bill, right? And that happened on, supposedly he was killed Memorial Day, May 25th. But then the news story came on May 26th. That was the day the media put out everywhere. The televised killing of Floyd. Floyd equals 26. Riot equals 26 on the 26th of May. Next thing you know, you got rioting all over the nation. Rituals by numbers. But again, just days before that, Steve Mnuchin, the Skull and Bones guy, he put out the news about how the Federal Reserve, which was just about to show the $20 Harriet Tubman bill, which we've been hearing about for years, he announced that they're not going to show it until 2028. Go back and read the story. They were about to show it in 2020, and then he announced that they're not going to show it now until 2028. How do you go from about to show something to saying, oh, never mind, we're going to show it in 8 years from now? I mean, does that make any sense? Because that's what the story was. But think about it. Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill, right? And then George Floyd a few days later with the counterfeit 20. Well, what does Gematria reveal about Harriet Tubman? 201. Just like George Perry Floyd, just like Confederate. The reflection of 102. And again, George Perry Floyd with the alphabetic order and rules of numerology equals 102. With the alphabetic order, it's 201. But yeah, it's the show couldn't be any more clear. Donald Trump's RNC convention was blessed by the Catholic cardinal out of New York, Dolan, on his 201st day of his age. Again, just the same old every single day. It is the Jesuit order that is the tip of the spear for the New World Order. They use the you-know-whos, put them out in public places, so it looks like it's them. They use them like pawns on the chessboard. All this stuff, all these world wars, Israel, all these things, they're all the work of the church, the Catholic Church, and the Jesuits. They're their creations. They're fulfilling prophecy by the code. Don't forget the Holy Bible equals 201. Again, all this stuff's biblical. So, and don't forget it also, skull and bones. What do they get their symbolism from? They get their symbolism from an ossuary, the skull on top of the thigh bones, the way you bury a dead in an ossuary, which is the way the Knights Templar buried their dead in the time of the Crusades. And the Knights Templar serve who? The Catholic Church. And what do the Jesuits have right in their logo? The Knights Templar cross. So, again, the symbols of Rome are all over the nation's capital that once again used to be called Rome on the Potomac. The land was owned by Francis Pope. Now all these huge agendas are happening in the time of Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope. And I suppose we can close out right there for just, the nail in the coffin for the Jesuits in 201. Pope Francis, again, is the first Jesuit Pope, and he's the first ever to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican in an apartment known as the Domus Sancti Marte. And notice his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, 201. Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, 201. Again, Catholic Popes, 201. The Jesuit Orders, 201. In terms of the New World Order, I guess I should just point out things that I pointed out yesterday. Let me try it this way. So just yesterday, another one of Biden's appointments. Linda Thomas Greenfield, the ambassador to the United Nations. Her name's 201. The current head of the United Nations, Antonio Gutierrez, 201. The Jesuit Order, 201. The Global World Order, the United Nations. Again, look into the Jesuits and globalization. They are the New World Order force. And then when you learn Gematria, you just see clearly that yes, in the 16th century, they gave us the language, they gave us the calendar, they've been operating this way ever since. All roads lead to Rome. They're the ones that got the knowledge that had been kept from the time of Babylon during the time of the Crusades. And now, to this very day, they use this knowledge to wage their agendas. So, We'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. And thank you for everyone who gave the video a like. And until next time.